Welcome to Wizards of the Tower,
Roleplay.
where we talk everything role-playing games. In this episode, we're going to be talking about music and sound for your game. Welcome to Wizards of the Tower,
Roleplay.
where we're going to talk everything role-playing games. And this time, we're going to be talking about music, sound, audio for your games. So, kind of our history on it is we joined a group many years ago.
Yeah.
Right after Tom started to play RPGs. And the DM would actually have battle music.
That's what he called it, battle music.
He had a CD of battle music.
Yeah. And it was music from medieval Total War, the kind of the fighting music that you have. If you played the game, Total War 1 or 2, you know that there's the battle music that plays in the background. And then there's like the chanting as it shows your troops moving around, that kind of stuff. And then he also played the soundtrack from Conan the Barbarian, the Schwarzenegger version, which of course by Basil Polidorus is probably one of the greatest movie soundtracks ever created, ever.
And if you can ever get your hands on the
original,
which has a bunch of unreleased music, then it's even better.
It's even better. It's real. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I thought it really enhanced our gameplay. It really did.
Yeah. It kind of added a whole other immersion.
Yeah. As we were fighting, we'd have the drums and the horns going and the beat and everything like that. The shouting, the chanting, the sound effects of ching 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 ching, that kind of thing. It really worked. I thought, to enhance our experience.
Yeah. So why would you want to have music, sound, and audio for your game? Well, it just kind of adds that whole other immersion.
It adds an extra dimension to the immersion of your game.
And with today, you don't have to have just battle music. You can have music walking through the forest, or
sound
walking
effects
through the mountains.
Sound effects.
Sound effects.
You're in the forest. There's birds and squirrels.
There's a river.
There's a river. You get the sound of a river.
Off in the distance, you hear a waterfall.
There's a waterfall. Sound of a waterfall. Wolves howling. There's
you hear lightning in the distance.
Wind or sound of raindrops. That kind of thing. Wind or rain, a storm, lightning, thunder.
Yeah. You hear something crack in the distance.
Yeah. So any kind of sound effect, any kind of sort of audio, immersion or audio stimulation to me, I think really enhances games. And I really appreciate the fact that Delaney does that quite often. And I like it when DMs do it. I think it's really cool because it also gives me the idea that this DM has thought about it, that they've thought about their game, and they want to give you the extra dimension. They want to provide this sort of experience, So one of the best examples I can give you on something like this is everybody goes into a tavern, and there's a bard or a musician playing, and in the background you hear like strumming on a lute and somebody singing, and it's background music, okay? And it really enhances, or you have sound effects of people talking, drinks hitting the table, somebody laughing, somebody pouring drinks with the music. It really enhances, the actual event and the scene that you're taking place in my opinion. I love it.
Why would you not do this? Well, there are some people who kind of find it distracting.
Yes.
They don't want any kind of background noise going on whatsoever. They can't concentrate.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'll say this. When I'm reading, like I'm reading a book, I don't like the sound of the TV. I don't like the sound of traffic. I don't like the sound of it. I like it to be quiet.
Yeah.
If there's tonal background noise like a river or wind, something like that, that doesn't bother me. But conversation, because I'm the kind of listener who always wants to tune in to conversations. And so if I'm trying to concentrate on reading a book, I don't like it. But when I'm role-playing, in a role-playing game, I'm not reading a book. I'm immersing myself in that game, in this tower, with these characters.
Yeah.
And I don't mind having music or sound effects or something in the background. That doesn't bother me. But there are those people who just cannot stand to have something, music playing, conversation, whatever happening behind them. And I think it's probably a personality issue. And I'd be really anxious to hear what people would say in the comments about that. If they feel that they can keep playing with sounds behind them or sound effects or music, or if it just drives them nuts.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of an example of what Tom's talking about here. So I'm going to pull up one of the apps that I have. This is for a tablet, and you can change the volume on this. If you wanted, you can turn
a little
off the
bard
singing.
sound. Bard sound in the background in the tavern.
Okay, let's say they're in there, and all of a sudden, with this app,
You have to turn it up.
let's turn it up.
When the king looks to his right
Okay,
hand.
let's say combat erupts.
Uh-oh, combat breaks out right in the middle.
You can change the intensity, the ambience. As it leads into a victory.
There you go. You've killed the bad guy.
Yep.
Interesting
And you
way
turn
to
it
use
off.
music.
Yeah. And this is just one app, and we're going to talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about some of the apps. So, I like it. There's been times where I haven't used it, and Tom's like, "Hey, can you put on some background music? Maybe we're walking through a forest, and Tom will say, hey, can you pull up some background music there?"
Well, when we've been on a boat, I've always liked to hear like the wind blowing, the creak of the rigging, that sort of thing.
The shipwreck. Let's see.
It's almost like, it's so cinematic. It's almost like being in a movie.
Right.
Now, what about just straight background sounds, like nature sounds?
Yeah, you can do that too. Now this app is not the best for that. Okay, so one of my absolute favorite ones to have, and a lot of times when I'm DMing, I have multiple sites open. This app that I was just using on my tablet is specifically for Android, Apple. I understand on their Discord site that you can run it on a PC. I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
Most of what they have is free to use. You just download it onto your tablet and then you play it. It's limited. You can pay per month and get access to more.
No.
So it is kind of behind a paywall. It's not fully behind a paywall. And this app is called Pocketbard.
Oh, Pocketbard.
I just found this before our last game session, and then I was kind of playing with it with our other DM, saying, I was adding in some sound for us, and then I could change it back. It fluidly went from one scene to the next, which was really cool. The one that I typically like to use is called Tabletop Audio.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's tabletopaudio.com.
Yeah.
Now, they have a patron site that you can pay and get more variable within what they have. And you can add in specific things onto what you're listening to.
Right.
It's probably one of the better ones.
I remember the wintry forest one that we did when we were in that one campaign where we were deep in the forest. You heard the wind blowing. You heard the sound of like ice chips hitting things, and then you had the slow, measured footsteps plodding through the snow like.
Yeah. Yep.
As we were moving our way through the snow, it
Yeah.
really enhanced it, and it made we would just play it in the background as we were going, and it kind of had a way of focusing you and keeping you focused on the scene of what you were doing. And I liked it.
Yeah. The other one that I like to use is called RPGAmbientMixer.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, you can actually go out and create your own and add specific noises and take things out. So that was actually, I think that might have been the one that I was using
Probably, because it had a lot of overlaid sounds in it. Which
and
was
that
really
one's
nice.
that one's pretty in depth because you can take and build your own sound and music for the ambient for the game that you have.
Now,
But you can search and find, and people have made tons of stuff.
remember when we were playing Pocketbard, when we were on the ship, they had the creaking of the rigging,
Yes.
the sound of the seagulls, the yelling of the crew, the splashing of the waves.
That was actually tabletop audio.
Okay, now, when we were in the cave, you had the dripping of the water.
Yeah.
And you had like that sense, that kind of background, kind of rumble of the cave with the dripping of the water. And then when we got to the pool, we had the splashing in the water again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And like bats.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that really helped focus everybody on what we were doing, in our environment, in our landscape. I really enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Especially, it's really cool when you're listening through headphones. And you can hear like beep, 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 beep as the bats go flying around your head and stuff. Pretty cool, I gotta say.
Yeah. So the top three that I have are tabletop audio, RPGAmbientMixer.com, and the new one that I came across. I think I found it on Facebook. I just saw it and I'm like, oh, let me check it out. And I downloaded the free stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool. But that one is called Pocketbard, and it's Pocketbard.app is the website. Now there are a couple other ones which I've never used. Now, I've heard a lot of things about it, and that's Synescape. That's SYNISCAPE.com. And that one is behind a paywall. You have to pay to use that one. And that's a big one that people use for like the online games, tabletop audio, Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and things like that. They incorporate it into that. The other ones you can incorporate too as a DM, because you can put that out there for your players.
Sure.
Another one is called Pocketbard.app, which is also behind a paywall. Now you can do just basic footsteps or basic sounds on that one. I, as a DM, I love adding the ambient music and ambient sound. YouTube is another one. I've gone out and searched YouTube and found stuff.
Oh, there's tons.
The Viking game, the Northern game, the Barbarian game that I had, where it was kind of Northman. I actually pulled out some bands like Wardruna.
Oh yeah, we did have chanting and music.
There was a game that I had,
Ancestors
Legacy,
Yeah.
that had some, that I pulled out some of their music. There's been Danheim.
We've used Danheim before.
Who's the other guy that we like that's got the saber-toothed tiger?
Oh gosh. Paleo Wolf.
Yeah, Paleo Wolf.
Yeah,
All
because
these
of the
are
chanting
really
and the
good.
drumming.
Yeah, if you want some real primeval.
Yeah. The chanting and drumming and the
Some of the
primeval
stuff,
sounds,
yeah.
the animal sounds.
Yeah. So this is all really good stuff to go out there and find and play. You can find all this stuff on YouTube usually and play it, pull it up. Have your song list.
Yeah.
I've heard of a lot of DMs have, a song list that they like to play for gaming. But the apps that I have aren't just music, but actually some of the ambience behind it.
Yeah.
The creaking of the ship, the wind blowing.
And that
wolves in the
really
distance.
enhances the auditory experience of what you're doing. I've kind of tried to encourage Lainey to use the projector more, like when we're playing, to have different scenes on the projector, flashing up different landscapes or different like animated sequences of a ship going or stuff like that. That's maybe something we'll work on in the future now that we have a little more access to AI and stuff like that. So the pros and cons. Why? Well, because it can enhance your experience. Cons, not everybody likes it.
No.
Okay, a lot of people are distracted. It annoys them. Background sounds annoy them. That kind of thing. It kind of is going to have to be the flavor of your group. Okay. Yeah. And it should not be a deal breaker. If you've got somebody who... I know there's a lot of people who may be on the autism spectrum where they're easily distracted by sounds and stuff. It may not be the best thing. However, there's also people who need music, or they
Yeah.
need sounds to focus. That's what they really. They
Yeah.
can't stand quiet. They need something to focus. So I could see both sides of it.
Yeah, I would say as a DM, talk it over with your group.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
and experiment with it a little bit if you can.
Yeah.
And so that way people have an idea of what you're talking about, and what you're going to throw out there, and changing the level. It doesn't have to be really loud and
Oh,
over.
it shouldn't
It
be.
shouldn't. It should be the background noise.
Yeah.
That they hear.
Yeah, it should be sort of a background sound, unless you specifically want to have like a certain sound of like a trap springing, or the sound of rocks falling, or a dragon roaring, that sort of thing, because it's part of the action.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, we're going to end this episode of Wizards of the Tower.
role play.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, spread the word, leave a comment. We'll always comment back. If you ring the bell, that gives you notifications. We do post a new episode usually every Friday, depending upon how life goes for us. We're just a small little YouTube channel, so if you like us, spread the word. Tell your friends, and we really appreciate it. We'll always comment back once again to anything that you put out there, whether it's just a simple thanks for the comment or something a little bit more.
Yep.
It kind of depends. We're always appreciative of every one of you guys who follow. So anyway, may all your adventures be epic.
And keep on rolling.
Thanks, folks.